Hello and welcome to the Overton Audios podcast. My name's Connor Chadwick.
And I'm Daniel Patton.
And on today's podcast, we will be having a discussion with Oliver Silcock on Torchwood Retrospective.
And later on, we'll also be talking to Joel Eley on EarthCorp II.
How are you, Daniel?
I'm pretty well. This is for people who don't know, we're recording this together in person.
Hang on.
Wait.
High five.
High five.
There you go.
There you go.
That proves it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we also hold hands, so throughout this here. Like, we're holding hands. Don't know if you can hear our hands. There's no real way to prove through audio.
No.
You just got to take our word for it that we are in the same room together.
Yeah, but yeah, you've been all right.
I've been good.
We're currently, actually, to say that we're not even at mine, or I'm not at yours where you're staying. We're actually at work.
We're at work. Yeah, we're just sitting down on break at the moment.
Well, this is one of those annoying things at work where something's been delayed and we've got nothing else to do.
And I'm experiencing that with you currently.
Do you see how annoying it is?
It is. You tell me every time we're on call or you're on the podcast, God damn, something happens at work. I'm like, God, it can't be that bad. It's like, yeah, it's that bad. I understand your frustration now. It is that bad.
Literally, we were waiting for something to be ready at 12. We were going to do an inspection of a lift cart. It's currently 12:03 and it's been delayed till 12:30. And you thought, well, we said we were going to record the podcast.
Yeah.
Well, we're just doing it now.
We have some downtime, yeah?
Yeah, we've got half an hour to kill.
Free time!
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, it's been all right. We met up with Luke, Meg and Dom on the previous Friday, didn't we?
We did, yes.
Yeah, that was Friday 23rd.
Yeah.
We met up, we did some, obviously there was a bit of speculation because we were outside number 10.
Yeah.
Which,
yes,
of course,
I
I don't know which number 10 we could be talking about. It's actually a dentist's, but
yeah.
It's a very posh dentist, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I can confirm, yes, I am the new Prime Minister, and I promise I'm going to be slightly better than Boris.
Prime Minister Daniel J. Patton.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
we had a nice time though. We then went. There was a bit of filming being done, but it wasn't like a multi-doctor thing by any means. It was just for series.
No.
5. It was for series 5 of the DW2012 series.
The other one saying, like, "Oh, you filming for the 60s?" I was like, "No, believe it or not, we are friends who just hang out."
Yeah. Although we did see a fan next to Buckingham Palace.
Yeah.
A lovely fan.
Yeah. In all fairness, he only recognised me for my first ever appearance in the
That's what's great is he recognises you from the original release 7 years ago, not from the remaster.
No. Or my fan films or the
moment he said you on green screen on Matt Smith's TARDIS,
like,
were like, you face palmed hard. You're like,
no.
Why have you done this?
No. And I walked away in shame.
At least he said hello to you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Didn't ask who I was. I was just stood there. But nonetheless, it was great to see someone who enjoys the DW.
Do you know who you are in DW 2012? You are
the Tin Dog.
No, in Loki, he at the end of it all.
He who remains. I'm the one with the continuity. Yes. Just keeping an eye on everything.
And then you say someone's like, okay, you can take it over, and then immediately this universe just goes haywire.
Yeah, the multiverse breaks out.
Yeah,
everything goes wrong. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, what's that thing called again?
It's a Mars climber.
Yeah, and I was picturing the Justice League at the moment soundtrack.
It's going down there.
Nah, it's not as epic then.
Yeah, they're probably going on break. They usually go on break around this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so where do we go from here? Because we were usually talking about the stuff we've been working on. It got announced I think a year ago, didn't it? But do you remember when we I think we just released it, or Nathan released it, Doctor Who Machination?
Yes.
Because that cover art, it was just the announcement cover art, wasn't it, that came out? I think Nathan put that out and then we followed up.
Yeah. Nathan leaked it, I think.
I think so, yeah. He told a couple of people on the podcast he did, I think it was Delta FX he did the podcast with, and then afterwards it just kind of caught on, so he released it and we announced it. That's now actually the first 3 out of 5 episodes are now finished and ready for release, and it's just the final 2 to go and then we're done. Obviously Sherlock Holmes is now out, so let's say that there is a volume 2.
Yeah, we're working on.
Yeah.
Well, can we say how far in development?
It's almost finished recording, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say, can we announce it? It's been scripted. We're recording.
Oh yeah. Like what we did was we took a review on how we felt it went, and we realised that, for example, the episode 2, Red-Headed League, was way too much narration. Although there has been a lot of feedback on people actually really enjoying your narration, which is a good thing, but we'll still keep it to the minimum that you want.
Because people who don't know, I'm very dyslexic, and doing a lot of narration tends to wear me out very quickly.
I will say that you did a splendid job.
Thank you.
Even though, if anyone heard the original recordings, it would sound like a man falling into insanity.
It was so much insanity.
I think you and Anna were sat together in the end.
Yeah.
To go through it all, because the paragraph. I mean, I tried to break up the paragraphs in the script, so it would be smaller chunks to have to remember at a time. But even then, I think it was just the whole flusteredness of it.
Because I find it very hard to read long paragraphs. Like you know from filming with me that I sometimes need to do 2 different angles, 2 different takes, so I can cut to something. Then I can finish off the line. Like I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not a big dialogue person.
Yeah.
I can write big dialogues, but I cannot say them.
But yeah, it's been nice to kind of push forward with that. Aside from one episode, all of the next volume in the next chapter for the Cravat Doctor is almost finished recording.
Yes.
It's just a couple of characters left for episode 2, because it's a 3-episode volume. It's just a little bit smaller because the 4th episode, which was going to be in there, is now actually the Transcending Time episode. So technically you've already had one of the episodes from that volume coming out next year. That's why it's gone down by one.
Fair enough, yeah.
Because, I
suppose it got a bit of an upgrade. You got the 13th Doctor in there as well.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. It wasn't meant to have the 13th Doctor in originally, but now it does. So we were thinking, okay, well, why don't we do this with the Rani? Because when we found the impressionist Wendy Abrahams, who plays the 13th Doctor, we were thinking about who could we pair them with. Well, we knew we wanted 13 and Cravat.
Yeah.
But like, do we want it with Julia or Carly? And then we just thought, Rani.
Because we've had Remembrance 1 come out already, and that's set back in the Series 2 era of that.
Yeah, but even then, just to see the 13th Doctor interacting with the Rani. And we've not had the Rani in nearly 35 years.
So this would be a very cool thing for the current Doctor to also... Although it would be so much like the BBC to announce the Rani's return for Series 13.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see the Rani again. I think there's so many opportunities you could do, because she's a scientist. So she wouldn't be like the Master going, I'm going to take over the world. No, she'd just probably be experimenting on people and doing things a little bit iffy. As we saw, obviously, when we've done the return of the Rani story with the Irish Doctor, and obviously we've done then the Candidate. She's always someone of science and cunning. The Master, whilst he does have that cunning, he's also, he's got that he's got that mastermind element as well.
Yeah.
Where
he has more malicious intent behind it.
Yes, the Rani's very, when I say pure of heart, obviously she's done horrible things, but she's doing that in pursuit of learning in science, which is why, like in one of my episodes, she tries to destroy the universe. Not intentionally, but she's trying to take energy from a white dwarf star, which is the last one in the universe, so she can research it and learn more. But in doing so, she's going to kill people. That's where the problem lies, and that's where the Doctor and her differ. Yeah, that she has none of those compassionate qualities.
Yeah, like it's not that like she doesn't kill people for the necessary power. If it's necessary for what she needs to achieve, she will kill. Yeah.
But anyway, speaking about Time Lords returning and or matching with certain Doctors, in the new Torchwood special retrospective, Father Shaw returns after nearly 3 years.
Oh yeah, and that I remember, like everyone's reaction, like, "Oh, it's Father Shaw, he's back!"
Yeah. So, should we play the trailer for that?
Oh yeah.
Well, here we go. Overton Audios presents.
This guy's kidnapping women nobody's ever found. It's my duty to stop him myself. I can't really explain it right now, but we have to get out of here.
That's a funny way to pick up girls.
I was trying to help her.
I saw what you were really doing.
You'd better have a fucking good reason for cock-blocking me. Do you have any idea who that girl was?
Another girl who's out way past her bedtime?
You think you're so fucking clever.
Explain yourself.
There's someone on this planet who's from my past. I've got to stop him before his master plan comes to an end. Alright?
Let me go.
Not a chance.
You're sick. How can you do this?
Quite easily.
What's going on?
I don't entirely know.
There's a Time Lord here. He's back. Any questions?
Yeah, plenty. Who is this guy?
Father Shaw.
Torchwood Retrospective. Coming the 7th of August 2021 at 12 p.m. And welcome back. I'm here with Oliver. Hello, Oliver.
Hello?
And today we're going to talk about Torchwood Retrospective, aren't we?
No, I have to get off at the next stop.
So, Oliver, in Retrospective, you play Matt Vowles. Of course, we can talk a bit more about it because last time the segment was only 8 minutes long. Now we can talk for forever.
No, we can't. I have to get off at the next train station.
So, Matt Vowles, this is in 1979, and he's had a little bit more experience, hasn't he?
I suppose so, but this is not what
So with Matt Vowles, he's now a bit older, he's got a bit more experience. He still cares for Roxy, but there's definitely something more there now, isn't there?
Well, I suppose so, but I don't have enough time to say what I would like to say because I'm getting off the train at the next station.
You're really ruining this segment, Oliver. I'll have to do it for you.
So, Matt Vowles.
Yes. So, I'm really quite happy with how Retrospective goes, aren't you?
Yeah, no, I was very, very pleased with it, to be fair. I thought, it was probably the one I was most invested in because of the setting. I liked the era and the year and felt there was a lot that could be done with it.
We also bring back a villain from Series 2.
We may just do.
We do, I've announced it.
Oh, okay, yes. It is the Master's son.
Father Shaw. It's been a while since he came back, and it was great to write for him again. And obviously it's technically Matt's first proper villain as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if we'll ever see Father Shaw again.
Who knows? It is left in a bit of a mystery, isn't it?
We'll see. Maybe one day. Oh, this is Matt's final stop. Except it's not, because Retrospective is not the final stop, but this is Oliver's final stop on the train. This is a really short segment. I feel like we should record more sometime. Maybe on Wednesday.
We will pick this up. And farewell, Oliver.
Farewell for now.
So, probably a little bit of explanation needed for you saying goodbye on the tube and now suddenly we're back again. But we're outside again. We're staying with the theme. It's a summery month. So far, me and Dan have been sitting in a show apartment at Croydon. And then we've been sitting... then we've been on the train going to London Bridge. Me and Joel were in a car.
Yes.
We were on the tube together.
Yes.
And now we're sat here on my balcony.
Yes, the tube was about nearly 2 weeks ago now, I think.
I think something like that. Yeah, we were coming out from Wembley Park, weren't we?
Yes.
So yeah, it would have been 2 weeks. Yeah, so Retrospective. The trailer's now out as of actually us recording it. It came out yesterday. We're doing this very last minute.
Yes.
So, this is set in 1979, as we say in the synopsis, on the cusp of the 80s.
Yes.
You've got a Tony Stark facial hair.
Yeah, a bit of a Matt's
goatee, something.
Yeah, Matt's purposely looking older.
But like we were saying on the tube, his body clock is still slow. So we wanted to make sure that it looked like he'd aged a little bit.
Yes.
So we therefore just gave you a bit of a beard, because basically Matt's meant to be in his mid to late 20s.
Yes.
So by this point we were sort of saying he's probably in his 30s. He's obviously older than that because he's lived. We've gone from 1914 to 1979. 79. That's 65 years.
Yes, exactly.
So he is actually probably in his 80s when you think about how many years he's lived. But his body is probably more like 30, maybe late 30s, something like that. But he's still not forgotten about Roxy. Roxy's not really mentioned in this one.
No, not really.
Although
this is more about
him
him and connections to.
Yeah,
I don't really want to spoil anything because
No. But the thing is, when we did the World at War segment, that's only 8 minutes because we could only explain how Matt survived. We couldn't talk about World at War at all.
No,
which of course I suppose we can. Now.
There are certainly connections to Matt's past in retrospective, like his actual past from like before. Obviously, he aged, so he's now living in a time that would be connected to his.
He makes a brief mention of how he grew up in London, and now he does mention how as he gets closer to his time, he has to be more careful now.
Yeah,
like he knows he can't really go back to certain areas that he grew up in.
Yeah, exactly.
And now that he's in the 80s,
and meet himself. He doesn't meet himself, by the way, but
we wouldn't be alive.
Yeah,
he wouldn't be
of course he wouldn't.
2019 was when he had died. I say. Well, no, 2025 was.
Mm-hmm.
He was in his late 20s then. So.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so he wouldn't be alive yet, but you know there are certainly connections made, I suppose.
Yeah, he's still going to survive out to the 2020s. So he's not really born for another 20 years, but he has family connections, like we've described briefly, is that he's got to keep away from certain areas that he knew his parents grew up in.
Exactly, yeah. But, he's got a good older life for himself currently in retrospective. He's still doing things for Torchwood and stuff.
Yeah, he's working with do you know, actually, shall I tell you what the name of the guy Jeremy is? I gave him a surname.
Yes.
Alexander.
Oh, yeah.
Jeremy Alexander is his name.
Okay. What's that who's that relate to?
Your name.
Oh, my name, right. Oh, fair enough.
Your name is Oliver Alexander.
Yes, of course. Yeah, sorry, I thought you meant like he related to like a future
because
Torchwood character in the DW 2012 overall universe.
Well, I mean, he obviously everything we're doing is to do with that, but he does have a cameo in Torchwood Rebirth.
Yes.
To do with the.
Oh, 80s. Of course he does. Yes, this not Matt. The Jeremy character.
He does. He appears briefly just to help connect everything because we didn't want to overcomplicate that special by having you going hello.
Yeah, the Jeremy character in this mentioned in this episode.
You never hear Jeremy on the phone though.
No.
In this, but you hear him in the special.
The Jeremy character mentioned in retrospective does appear, as Connor rightly said, in Torchwood Rebirth with Fraser Ward and Tommy Benton.
Yeah.
So there are connections made, and perhaps there will be future connections made.
Yeah.
Who knows?
We'll see. There's still one more to go.
I mean, we know, but that's
yeah. Like we finished recording. I remember January was when we took the photos for the final cover art of the trilogy. And then that was in one of the really posh flats we were working in.
Yes, that was nice actually. Yeah, that one. Anyway, so what can we really say about
Father Shaw's come back?
Yes, we know that's in the trailer.
We kind of had that planned the earliest, didn't we?
Yes,
we planned that on very early on before we even really knew what the Knife trilogy was.
Yeah,
I'd always said that if Father Shaw was ever to return, I'd want it to be in a Torchwood story.
Yes.
And we did that.
And this is Father Shaw after the events of Fatherhood of the Sun.
Well, because Matt and Father Shaw know each other.
So they recognise one another. We can say rightly so that he has survived the big spaceship crash at the end of Doctor Who Resurrection Series 2.
Yeah,
and did not need to regenerate, obviously.
Yeah, like it's a case of he just let's face it, he just teleported out of there.
Yeah. So, there was no damage, he was
like
fine.
A little bit of a temporal shift, that's how he's ended up back in time. But obviously he's stuck there, he's not...
Yes, for now, maybe.
Yeah. That's the whole part of it. But
he might stay stuck there.
But do you remember what the original title was for this story?
Yes, Sex, Drugs and Rock and Roll.
Yep. And that tells you the theme of the episode.
Yes. And then I read the script and said to Connor, there's not much sex or drugs or rock and roll.
There are. There's drugs in it, and there's not sex scenes, but there's mentions of sex.
Yes, there's
because it is about the Soho area in the 70s and 80s, which was a very vibrant area.
Yes, but then I turned around and said to Connor, look, this episode is about reflecting on the past. It's about reflecting.
You've got characters past on.
Yes, reflecting on Matt's past, reflecting on everything that's going on in his life and what he's looking forward to in his future, and obviously Father Shaw coming back from his past, and likewise for Father Shaw, Matt coming back from his past. So I said, it's set in the sort of retro kind of time anyway. Retrospective, as a word by definition, is about looking back on the past, so why not call it retrospective? And then you were just like, oh, yeah, all right then.
Yeah, it was because we were talking to Dan and he was making the cover art, and when he came up with the title, was too long across the cover art. But yeah, it was with the other two stories. They kept their names. This one was the most unsure one because we knew how it was beginning and we knew how it was going to end.
Yeah.
The middle one we couldn't figure out until we've now decided that, and I think rightly so. You have the first one with Matt adjusting, and then you're going to have the last one, fingers crossed, with him getting to the end point that he's waiting for. The middle one is getting a chance to see Matt in Torchwood mode. He's not worried about anything that's coming up in his life. He's not worried about the past. It's just him having to live in this time.
Yeah. Have we mentioned anything about the third of the trilogy or what it's called before?
I have mentioned it's called Decades and Decades.
Okay, good. Which gives you that's all we're going to say, obviously, for now.
Yeah, I have mentioned that, but that's obviously going to be something that comes up. That's a Christmas release.
Exactly, yeah. But I suppose we can factor in how World at War plays into Retrospective. I suppose it's the trilogy is called the Knife Trilogy for a reason.
Oh yeah, well you're holding the knife in the cover.
Well, this is true, yeah.
So the knife is there. Basically, it's the whole trilogy is about Matt and the knife that killed him, but also is like the reverse of what he is.
Yeah,
it ages people to death, like you've seen in World at War.
Yes, but it's all to do with the paradox created by Veritas and stuff, and all of the time going weird.
Well, not only that, but also the fact that Veritas, when he did die, he was also erased.
Yes.
So the knife is kind of a paradox.
Yeah, exactly.
Matt should now never have actually been stabbed.
Exactly, yeah.
But the time vortex, when he was travelling back, preserved him. Which is why also
because he died in a he died in a TARDIS that was falling apart through time. So things go a bit weird. Then I would say
and then basically, if the TARDIS hadn't done that, Matt would have just come back to life and been fine.
Yeah, he would have.
Why are we monsters?
He would have come back. Well, I still remember when we were when you were writing and we together were plotting the Resurrection Series 3 finale, Trial of Veritas, and I remember turning around to you and saying, "Should we kill Matt?" Because it was meant to be a lot. Tell you what, things die. We're getting a bit off topic. Well, no, we're not off topic. We're talking about Matt.
We have not had the chance to talk about World at War and how this all works.
I know, but all I was going to say is, with things die, it was always meant to be a bit dark, but it was meant to have a happy ending, and happier ending anyway.
Yeah, like whatever happened to Julie was still going to happen.
Yes,
but then there was going to be some solace in the idea that
there was going to be
and Julie still got to go back and have their kid.
Yeah, exactly. Matt and Roxy, you mean?
What did I say?
Julia. Oh, Matt and Julia having a kid. No, it's Matt and Roxy having their kid, and the Doctor was going to be comforted by Matt and Roxy about what had happened, and I suppose if that had been the case, then Transcendence wouldn't really have gone necessarily the way it went.
No, like Transcendence was always going to be the next one, but it wasn't. But the correct Doctor having a existential crisis wasn't going to be it.
No,
he was obviously still going to be hurt by what happened to Julia, but like,
of course,
him rejecting who he was before was just something new to add.
But
it was such a big finale because realistically, Resurrection seasons 1 to 3 are basically part of one overall story. It's not obviously each story is still singular and it still has its own series arc. Yeah. But Veritas disappearing was like marking a stamp on that's the parallel universe that got attached to this. All gone. Yeah. Obviously, we then in series 4 went back and met the parallel Doctor.
But that was to clear up the
continuity.
Yeah, that was to clear up any sort of the first 3 episodes of Resurrection Series 1. Whilst obviously standalone stories on their own do have a very loose continuity, that I feel that the story in Resurrection Series 4, The Wrong Cravat, bridges that continuity.
But it also has a bit of growth for the Cravat Doctor as well, because he is able to stand there and watch Veritas do the things that he knows he's already done, and not stop him.
Well, because he can't.
no, but he could. He's a Time Lord. He can timelines. He could just stop him.
Yeah,
but he doesn't. At the point, it shows some strength there.
Yes.
But then obviously the fallout of it is Matt.
Exactly.
Mainly.
Yeah, back to Matt.
Yeah, but obviously we decided not to go down that route. Yes. So we ended up doing this with Matt, and I think it's good. I think it's good because we've had Matt as very much a side character, and then in Two Only Universe, basically him and Roxy swapped in a way. Yeah. Roxy would have been the one helping out, but Matt had got Matt, like Roxy had got, like, after the apartment explosion, despite the fact that Matt was injured, he still wanted to help.
Yeah.
And that says a lot about who he is. And then obviously in the series 3 finale, he wanted to help.
Yeah.
Roxy didn't want anything to do with it, but she went with him so that, you know, they could be together and make sure they're all right. And then this went wrong, which is why Roxy is so hurt by Matt dying, not just obviously because she loves him and he's the father of her upcoming child, but also Matt was the one who wanted to help and he's the one who had to suffer for it.
Well, exactly, yeah.
But yeah, like that's the thing, is it's I imagine that during the gap between World at War and Retrospective, there's a lot of things that Matt's had to process.
Yes.
And like there's a lot of acceptance there.
Yeah.
Like the fact is, he will be old. He will be old by the time he gets to that point again, but he will be alive.
I mean, there are potential other stories between 1914 and 1979 that we've considered. You know, I mean, going back to maybe even in. We've come up with little mini stories in our heads. So I've come up with one set in the 50s. Yes. With Matt. Like I want you wearing like a pinstripe suit. Is that the mould one? No, the mould one was a big Finish story in Soho. Yes, no, Soho. I know that, but that's why. Oh yeah, by the way, that's a reference as well. That's why we're setting ours in Soho, was to be a nice reference to Torchwood. Oh yeah, they mentioned the mould thing in Retrospective. Yeah, we have a little reference to it. But yeah, I wanted you to be wearing like a pinstripe suit and like a little hat or something. And I wanted to be like a detective story where you're solving a murder, but the culprit's an alien. You can. Yeah, you're right. But originally, it was going to be what we were going to do was rather than doing these one-off specials, we were going to do volumes. Yes. So we were going to do a volume in World at War, a volume of like the Retrospective one. Well, and a volume in the 50s, as you rightly said. Well, no, that was an idea that I never told you about. Oh, okay. But like, you can tell just now. But then there was going to be one set in the Decades and Decades world. But now that's obviously just become There's just become a 3-part story. Well, it's become Rebirth now, set in that time. But obviously we're still sorting out the little nooks and crannies with that. Can we? So when is Decades and Decades does venture back? That's actually coming. Decades and Decades comes out on Christmas Day. It does, yes, and I'm sure we can probably say it does venture to Matt's time in 2023. Oh yeah, the story syncs up. Is it 2023 or 2026? 2025. Oh, 5. Okay, yeah, fine. And when is Torchwood Rebirth set? That starts in 2013, 2014. Yeah. So anything we can briefly say about? I mean, you can cut this out if you want. No, we might as well say it. Okay, well, in the Torchwood Rebirth series with Fraser Ward and Tommy Benton, they have that one special that's coming out in October. Yes. But it acts as a nice bridge for Decades and Decades. Yes. Because Matt's not in it. No. But Fraser does appear in Decades and Decades. Because obviously you're still living Matt is still living his life in Torchwood world. And obviously 4, 5, 6 kind of happened. Yes. So we do explore those little elements of it. That's when it leads into more, when we tie further into, we go through the official timeline. BBC series, yeah. And then we sync up to the DW 2012 series, with like Rebirth and the events of like 21st century. So there are definitely connections to the wider DW 2012 universe that involve characters coming in and meeting and stuff, which I like, to be fair. I like the characters from the live action series, whether it is from DW 2012's actual series or whether it's from Fractured Timeline. I like the characters coming from these live action series and syncing up in the audios and meeting the characters that are purely in the audios. Likewise, when you finally made your live action appearance as Cravat Doctor in Eternal Darkness, it really sort of brings everything together and solidifies it all as one world. So you know there's always potential for any of the live action characters to cross over into audio form, and likewise potential for any of the audio characters who are singularly for the audios to eventually or possibly cross over into the live action world. Well, yeah, exactly. The option's always there. Which is good. So, yeah, anyway, with Retrospective itself, though, it's a nice story. It's a nice little thing. You've got Matt going up against his first villain. Yes. Which was Father Shaw. He got kidnapped by Veritas and Father Shaw in Series 2. Exactly. It's the first proper main villain he's had, so he's been put up against him again. They're both in vulnerable positions. Yeah. Father Shaw is looking for a way out. I mean, Matt's met, the Fashionarada and the Cybermen and all of that business. But then, yeah, you're right. You know, the first proper villains were indeed Father Shaw, Veritas, and the Master for him. And you know, it's interesting, really, especially as you know. I mean, we were able to, because obviously Veritas was working with the Master and Father Shaw. We were able to sort of play a lot on the fact that Veritas and Matt had the same face and stuff, and it was good to sort of work into each other. But obviously, yeah, Father Shaw and Matt have that history, have that backstory, and that does come to fruition in retrospective. And there's certain things that happen that you'll enjoy, and certain references that I'm sure you'll all like. And it was a fun story to do. It was the one I was looking forward to doing the most. But I'd probably have to say my favourite one is the last one, Decades and Decades, purely because of what happens in it. But that's for a podcast in a few months' time, obviously.
Yeah, that'll be when it's snowing.
Yes. Well, if it snows.
Yeah.
Obviously. But, yeah, no, what else can we really say about...
Well, nothing. I was going to cap it off, to be honest.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fair enough. So there's not really much else to say about Retrospective. It's just, it's good. You'll enjoy it. Hooray.
Good. Anyway, thank you all for listening.
Yes.
Farewell.
Bye.
And there we go. It's just something I'm very excited to... I'm excited to listen to it. I've edited it, but I always like to, when they release, I always like to listen to them as if I'm the viewer as well, because you make so much, you forget. Like it's only been 5 months since I finished it.
Yeah, you have such a backlog. You forget. I was like, I might listen to that again.
Well, yeah, it's like I wouldn't listen to the episode Doctor Who Machination now. It's July, but in January, yes. Because I haven't heard it in nearly 5 months by that point. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll listen to it and just sort of think about it and think. Because I think it's good to look back on your own stuff and review it as a casual viewer. Step back from it for a while. I might sit down and watch The Candidate again and think, oh, maybe we could have shot that differently, or maybe we could have done that. Because it's always good in hindsight, especially not when you've just come out of the situation because you know everything about it. When you allow yourself to forget the process of how you made it, you can judge it better.
Yeah,
and I think that's what I typically do. We are finding ourselves with less and less time these days to record.
Yeah, exactly.
The past couple of weeks at work have been very, very busy, and of course yourself, you've been having a holiday because of how much is going on, and just a well-needed holiday at that.
In fact, this work day is in between my holiday. I'm taking a day out of my holiday to come to work today.
Yeah, exactly. So as a result, there are basically the things have just been. Plus, it's the summer. Yeah. And now that thing we haven't bloody mentioned either. COVID restrictions aren't a thing anymore.
We almost did not mention COVID for one podcast.
I know, almost. No, but there aren't any restrictions anymore. No. So we are now more busy again because things are open again. Obviously, you need to have that whole thing with the double vaccination. I mean, I've been double vaccinated.
I've got one vaccine. I'm getting my next vaccine in 2 weeks.
Well, that's good then, because then we can have our I'm trying to still sort out my vaccine passports. I don't intend on going into large events or nightclubs, but just to have it. Because I wouldn't be surprised if vaccine passports become a massive thing throughout. Yeah.
Well, I've been doing what my family been doing when they got the double vaccine. What they've been doing is, you know that little card you get where you 2 vaccines. They've been laminating it and putting it in their wallets.
Fair. Mine's in my wallet, but I haven't got it laminated.
I recommend getting it laminated. I don't know. Do you know anyone who owns a laminator?
You?
No, I don't own a laminator.
I don't know. I know that you're a man of many tricks.
I wish I had owned a laminator. That's the one thing that's the main thing I agree with for a teen about. Love a laminator.
Yeah. Have you got the cover for Remembrance 2 as your phone background?
No. I do, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the one. I redid this. I redid it in a much bigger aspect ratio so I can get.
Oh, so what you're saying is you made it better for your phone?
I could send it to you if you want to re-upload it.
Why do you threaten?
No, I'm asking, do you want me to send to you so you can re-upload it?
I just would like it sent.
Okay, I can send it to you right now. Hopefully I have my phone. I should have my phone.
Oh, very well. Anyway, comment sections. This is going to be interesting without being out on computers, isn't it?
Yep. Okay, I'm getting up Overton Audios as we speak.
Have you had any new comments? I've seen one comment on the candidate.
Just Stephen John saying the Mechons.
Yeah, the Mechons
were mentioned.
in a fraction of a second or two.
Yeah. He also commented again on episode. So
Jeevan John commented saying.
Yeah. He also commented on episode 1.
Okay, the Spark.
Yeah. First one, it says Maggie in this story was absolutely superb. So big shout out to I there.
Yep.
I love the character so much. Thank you, Jeevan. And he also said another one. I would have loved it if the Irish doctor said lots of planets have a north, since Belfast is in Northern Ireland. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, Belfast is in Northern Ireland, which is all north. That's what it's called. It's called
Northern Ireland. Yeah.
Yes, it's the north of Ireland.
Yeah.
Because it's not a separate country. I'm not going to go into this. That's just my stance on it all. It's not a separate country.
So we've had a comment here on Remembrance 1, which was called The Prince of Blood. I've got a comment here from Jeevan John just saying, finally, the Overton Audios release I've been waiting for. It was absolutely a fantastic listen. The story felt slightly like a Sarah Jane's adventure episode. I loved the fact that we got an insight into Julia being the Crimson Hunter and murdering someone while the Doctor was in the same room as her. Connor's narration was superb and his take on all of the characters was brilliant. 30,000 out of 30,000. Then, of course, we have a comment from Dark Design Dramas, that's John and Harper himself, saying, a wonderful narration by good old Chadders. Certainly can't wait for the further adventures in this range. A certain John may be reading one of Remembrance 2, I hear.
What John's that?
What I love is that he says, I've heard that. It's like, you've done it. You've done it. We've then also got Sherlock Holmes Volume 1 trailer.
That's true, yeah. The visual, because we should also start trying to make visual trailers as standard, more or less.
I don't want to drain you with too much energy, because I know you talked about in the last month's podcast, Fractured Timeline. You want to get that pushing again.
Yeah,
you don't want me messaging going, can you animate this for me?
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll try and make some releases, have some visual trailers.
Yes.
Yeah. From TARDIS Glitch, how exciting! I can't wait. Sherlock Holmes is an interesting world, and seeing Overton Audios bring it into audios is going to be interesting. Jeevan John, I absolutely love the trailer. Dan has done a fantastic job. I can't wait for the first episode and hear everyone's characters in full. And Dark Design Dramas, our dear John, has said certainly exciting.
Oh, good.
Yes.
We had a lot of support from the Sherlock Holmes one.
Yeah, from the very beginning, from the initial announcement, everyone's been very on board with us doing it, and I'm very happy with the response, which is that what we're going to go to next. This is the comments of Volume 1.
Of Episode 1.
Yeah.
Comment here from TARDIS Glitch on Episode 1, which is called A Scandal by Russia. This was an excellent choice for first episode. Loved the editing. The pace for the story was great, and Connor, Daniel, and Kate's portrayals of their characters were fantastic. Overall, it was an interesting story, and I'm excited to hear more of this Sherlock and Watson. And we have another comment from Jeevan John saying, this first episode in the Sherlock Holmes volume was fantastic. I absolutely loved the way the story went. All of the characters were fantastic. Kate Lassman as Irene Adler was amazing, and her transition from evil to loving was absolutely fantastic. Peter M. George as Mycroft was brilliant, and he gave a really good performance. And last but not least, Connor Chadwick and Daniel J. Patton gave an amazing performance as Sherlock Holmes and John Watson, respectively. Also, Dan's narrations as Watson were amazing.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see if we ever see the reappearance of Irene Adler, and if her relationship with Sherlock goes any further. 60,000 out of 60,000. Now, there aren't any comments on Episode 2. Because I think everyone watched that and they commented on the first and the last ones because it all came out in one day.
Yeah.
So we do have 2 comments from Episode 3.
Okay.
Which is called The 5 Orange Pips, which was the episode I was the most worried about.
Yeah, because of the subject matter, yeah.
The subject matter is a very tough one, especially in these days.
Yeah.
Where things are still more open and more, what I mean by more open is, we're seeing more of these activities starting to come to light.
Exactly, yeah. Just kind of shows how backwards it all kind of is, isn't it?
Yeah, to give context for those who may not have listened to it yet, the 5 Orange Pips is a Sherlock Holmes story that isn't talked about much these days, but it basically refers back to because it's set in the 1880s, around the creation of the KKK, which of course is still prevalent in today's society, whether or not in name or just in belief. So it was very tough when we were scripting this. We wanted to make sure we were as delicate as possible.
Exactly.
So yeah, sorry, the comments.
Yeah. Multi-Voice Entertainment says, well done, Connor. I listened to all 3 of them and they were all really good. Keep up the good work. Winky face emoji and thumbs up.
That's very nice.
And Jeevan John, This episode was quite an interesting listen. The subject of the KKK was an interesting matter, and the explanation of the Orange Peps was fascinating. All the characters in this were amazing. 70,000 out of 70,000.
Wow. Well, I think that's all the comments, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, by the time this comes out, the trailer for Retrospective would already come out, and we can read that as part of next month's podcast. Okay, well, those are all the comments.
All of them, yes.
Shall we go to the segment with Joel, where we talk about Time Traveller EarthCorp II?
Yes, indeed.
That's been quite an anticipated release, because that is technically part of the continuation past the visual series.
Is this meant to be like the last... Pardon me if I'm incorrect here completely. Is this meant to be like the last one before we get to the full continuation of time travel?
Yes, but obviously for this character, for Noah Crimson, who's in it, he has left the visuals. This is straight after he leaves the visuals.
So this is actually
technically a continuation that happens alongside Cataclysm.
Oh yeah, so we are now in the continuing part of the story now. Yeah,
yeah. There's been a lot of anticipation because this is it. It's not an anthology thing anymore.
Yeah, we're progressing the story now. This is the progression.
Exactly. So, have a listen to the trailer and my talk with Joel. Overton Audios presents.
Everyone, get back!
What the hell's happening?
Aim at that man.
This isn't what I was expecting.
What are you?
This world is a timeline where ThoughtCorp were never challenged. They never had James Whitfield or myself to challenge them. I tried before to take on Axel Quinton alone.
And who is this mysterious man then?
A Nazi from 1941.
Are you all time travellers in your world?
I accidentally created a fracture in space-time. I need to go to London. I need to stop ThoughtCorp before they rebuild their forces. That is not what happened. It was an accident.
An accident you've said you caused. You lied.
You understand why we must take these precautions?
I do, Axel.
Who are you?
This man is not on any database.
There's no record.
This man has no identity or past.
The Grid mainframe.
Who?
It's the supercomputer that is behind ThoughtCorp and Quinton Technologies.
Quinton, you know what must be done.
Yes, Grid mainframe.
Time Traveller EarthCorp Volume 2, coming 21st of August 2021 at 12 p.m.
What have I done?
And welcome back, and I'm here with Joel. Hello, Joel.
Hello, Connor.
How are you?
Yes, I'm very good. Come off the back of a very successful day of filming, which you just can't beat in my eyes. So really, really good. How are you?
I'm good. We probably should also say we're in the car.
We are. We're in the car.
We're not over Zoom or anything like that. We are both currently in a car.
Actually meeting face to face.
Yeah, it's not often that this happens because the podcast was made it started through the first lockdown.
Oh, so really?
It was literally just being done. We were thinking about doing it for a very long time, but just didn't have the time. And then lockdown happened, and we realised, that's a lot of time to now use. And a lot of people have time to be in them, so we thought we'd go with that. But now, as things start to open up again, we're realising, I should have recorded about 6 days ago for these segments. And now, I was trying to figure out who to talk to from this segment. And then I realised
I'm going to be trapped in a car with this guy. I can talk to him.
Yeah, sure, why not? But yeah, so you've been in quite a few of my audios, haven't you? Over the is it years or is it just a couple?
No, it has.
A year or two.
I was about. It was slightly before lockdown started. So bearing in mind we're in the second year of this COVID debacle, it's been at least 3 years that I've had the opportunity of doing the dramas and that with you. Which actually, I have to say, I've always really loved the opportunity to be part of, because I've always loved what voice actors can bring to these sort of roles and characters with audio dramas, and to actually get an opportunity to do it myself, realising how much harder it is. It's been about 3 years, and I think I've improved. I guess people will be able to be the judge of that for the latest season.
I think the earliest role I can remember that you had was, I think it was Trial of Veritas, and you were playing like a green scaly alien.
I was. Yep, yeah. I was. Yeah, actually, I remember that one quite well because it was my first chance where I thought, you know what, I don't care how much of an idiot I might sound like, I'm going to go for this. I can remember that voice quite well, actually. I wouldn't be able to do it right off the top of my head because it would probably be slightly off key, but I can remember doing that and really enjoying it as well. And the fact that I didn't get a message afterwards saying, yeah, I'm going to need you to do that again, was actually, that was quite nice.
Quite heartwarming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but then also, more recently, you've been doing some of the Time Traveller audios.
Yes.
Where, obviously, that's one of which we're talking about, which was EarthCorp II, which was recorded in September of last year.
Yes, and I really enjoyed getting, because I think...
Mr. Simpson's your character.
I played him before he got slightly bigger in this one. Correct?
Yeah, because... I don't know if the scripts were clear with it, but in the EarthCorp volumes, that's set in a timeline where the villains won.
Yes.
So when you played Mr. Simpson the first time, I believe it was Time Traveller 2015.
Yep.
And that was a smaller role, but in that reality, your character just died in an explosion, whereas in this version, the explosion still happens, but you survive it.
Yep.
And then you go on to become the leader of Resistance.
Yep, which was really satisfying because I remember him dying and almost being like, oh, well, that's a shame because I quite like this guy. So when those scripts came back in, I was like, oh my god, I've played this guy. I know who this guy is. So I sort of understood that it was more of it's like a parallel universe stuff.
Yeah. The villains are called Thorncorp, and then everyone's just nicknamed that world EarthCorp because it's, play on words, I suppose.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, it works. And I was just glad to sort of get back. In fact, actually, I remember when I was preparing for the role, I went back over the old audio just to make sure that I got the voice as similar to, but I actually did try to make it slightly different as a case of that this was a different variant of that person. Obviously went through something different, so it might sound slightly different. So
see, that's actually kind of a bonus now. You remind me by using the word variant. That talking about EarthCorp, I can just use the Disney Plus series Loki as a good reference for it.
You can.
Yeah, it's like they are variants.
They are variants. Yeah. So obviously not totally a different guy in this case because he's very similar personality-wise. But yes, it was fun to sort of have a bit of a play and go back to doing a voice that I'd already done. That was really cool. It was a nice fun challenge to do as well.
Yeah, so is there anything about his character that you feel that you can take away and maybe apply to yourself a little bit?
Ooh.
Do you feel like the film that you've been directing recently, you felt like a little leader of a resistance or anything like that? I don't know.
I mean, that's a pretty long bridge we're trying to get there. But no, I would say that I really liked the kind of the leader, the kind of leader he was trying to be. He was stern and fair. He was definitely putting his people and the resistance first. But he was also, he was trying to make sure that everyone was doing the jobs they were supposed to be doing. He wasn't like happy to let people go off and do it just because they wanted to. Everyone was trying to do the best possible jobs they could, and if it was a case of that he was going to hurt people's feelings, well, that was going to be the case. And I really liked that about that character. And yeah, I actually have applied a small amount of that into sort of like the way that I'm conducting my films at the moment.
And also, well, obviously avoiding any spoilers for EarthCorp 2, but at the end of EarthCorp 1, there's Emily's character who wants to go and her name's Jessie in the EarthCorp. Jessie wants to go and find Leo.
Yes.
And you're using they're thinking very emotionally about it. Yeah. Whereas Mr. Simpson is very much like, well, no, because if you go out there, you're going to die, and you're going to alert everyone to where we are, and we're all going to die.
Yep.
Like, the point is, we told them not to go there, and they went there.
Yeah.
And now they're dead.
He gets it. He's playing the game of war, and he's playing it really, really well. I think when he's on his own, he is always going to sort of do the condolences of probably the people he lost, but he's not going to show that kind of face to the rest of the resistance, because he gets it. Like, the enemy's not going to play the game that way. He can't either, but obviously he does. I know that he does. That was what I was trying to come forward in my performance as well with that character. He gets it. He knows. He understands. He cares more than he likes to let on. That's for certain.
Yeah. Now, to go back into the past a bit, you and I first met, I believe the first shoot day for Hunted was April 2017?
Was it 2017 or 2016?
2017.
Was it 2017?
Yeah, because I was...
It's only been 4 years.
I know.
Wow, I have to say, it does feel longer. Yeah, it was for Hunted, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Because I believe our first shoot day was in the paintball woods, wasn't it?
The paintball woods in Tiptree, in Essex, yep.
That was our first day of filming, and then we went filming in the city council offices and everything. That room we got for those offices was fantastic.
I mean, you know, I'm sure I've mentioned it to you before as well, what I was thinking originally of that sort of like that first shoot that we guys did, because I couldn't really gauge.
Well, you looked at my camera, wasn't it?
It was the camera, yeah.
You thought, oh, this is an awful production.
Just to explain slightly, I just started trying to take acting more seriously, and a friend of a friend had got me involved with Connor and his friend Nick Miles, and they talked this incredible talk, and I was so hyped because I thought that I'd landed this absolutely incredible gig, which, by the way, I did. But I was a little bit sort of on face value when I first met the guys, because I showed up, it was really early Sunday morning. I think we got there for about 6-7 o'clock.
Yeah. We were there, and then we were there till late anyway.
And we were there till late. And when Connor finally arrived, because he was one of the last people to show up, and I was really interested to see the gear that we're filming on, thinking that we were going to have, like, you know, these incredible cameras and lighting setups and mics. Connor just pulled out his A6?
Sony A7S.
Sony A7S, just that, and I looked at it, I was like, oh no, this is going to be, what am I doing here? And, you know, don't get me wrong, had a fantastic day, absolutely fantastic day. And then about a couple of days later, when Connor showed off some of the original footage, I was stumped. I was absolutely blown away. It looked incredible, absolutely incredible. So when, you know, Nick had then mentioned about the council building, in my eyes, it was just going to be a run-of-the-mill office building. To then show up that it was actually
a proper
Chelmsford
office,
city office, conference room. I was like, these guys.
The rooms and the lovely wooden doors that open automatically.
Yep.
You walk in, they go. It's like a bit like a kind of, you know, like Hogwarts hall doors.
Yeah.
The tall doors.
With the big.
Like, oh.
Yeah, thinking Aragorn walking into the Hall of Ronin. Yeah, like, yes, it was. Yeah, I even then I was just like, that was another notch of these guys are crazy. It is just nuts. Yeah, I look back on Hunted really fondly. Actually, very, very fondly.
And then we sort of like, that was the largest scale production we ever did with Nick, followed by because everyone was shattered from filming Hunted. There was so many elements to it.
Yeah, there was.
And it was also the first film that Nick had made in 7 years, because it was something like myself, we'd made stuff when we were kids, like 13, 14 at school, and, you know, GCSE media and all that sort of stuff. But then he'd sort of looked back on some of those films and thought, well, I know people who are still making it.
Yeah.
So we could always try and get everyone together, and that's what we did. He's then made Against Time, which still had it was a mixture of action and thriller, wasn't it? Ended up filming at mine during the famous KFC chicken shortage, because I remember my dad and my stepmom went out to go and get KFC, and we were like, yeah, good luck, and they arrived with loads of it, and it turns out they'd actually,
oh my god, yes,
and then we were like, where'd you get that from? He goes, oh, we took the last batch.
I do remember that. Wow, that is a real callback.
Because we were in the driveway filming the scenes, and then they obviously drove in, and we were like, oh, continuity's gonna a bit messy now. But yeah, then that was that, and then we've obviously filmed Tonight, which was filming from October 2019 until July 2020 because of COVID, and then has been in post-production ever since.
Sit in the car in 2021.
Yeah, making another thing.
potentially getting to the point where this film might actually beat it out if the pacing continues. Who knows?
But yeah, it's just a case of Well, we did the ADR for that the other week.
Yes.
So we've just got one other little bit of ADR with one other character to do, and then we can send that off, and hopefully that'll be finished by August, September.
Yeah.
As well, and then we were going to put that into film festivals, but they're not really open right now, so we're not too sure what's going on with that.
Yeah, not while they're still digital. I mean, I can understand still doing it because you still get that, but I think it would be really cool to think that we could post it somewhere. When film now that they're starting to open up and be invited, that would be incredible. So I understand why there's not as much love for wanting to do film festivals right now.
Yeah, and also as well as that, we did make another. Actually, we forgot the other film for the film festival, Prototype.
Yes,
48-hour film. Shot it in one day.
Shot it in one day.
Did the edit, and then it was 20 minutes long, and then we were like, it's a bit long for a film festival, and then Nick checked the
5 minutes.
It was going to be 5 minutes, and we just sat there and we've just made a 20-minute edit.
I mean, the fact you did actually crop it to 5 minutes is incredible.
I mean, I think it still works.
It does still work. It worked incredibly well.
Yeah.
And then after watching them both, you're sort of like, you basically get the same message across somehow in 5 minutes as you do 20 minutes.
But 20 minutes, it has, obviously, naturally, there's more content there. Yeah. Context.
But it's just nuts to think you hit the same bullet points of the story in 5 minutes as you did 20. It was like when you met, because it was late that night. I still remember that message coming in. I think you were the one who sent it as well.
No, it was, what happened was Nick had come over to mine the next day to finish the edit, and then as we were finalising it and doing the final render, as soon as it finished, I went, it won't upload. And then he looked and went, it's going to be 5 minutes, and then there was just me swearing at him.
I just remember panicking, and Emily just being like, my partner just being like, what can you do? Like, I just messaged back, like, is there anything I can do? And you guys were just like, it's up to us. I was like, great, I have to sit here all day wondering if anything that we finished actually made it into the film. And then luckily, you sent it for a 5 minute cut, and I was just stuck.
To be honest, all we did was we just duplicated the editing sequence, and then literally just cut whole scenes, and just went, okay, we'll cut the restaurant scene. I mean, in all fairness, I'll say this: the one shot we got in the restaurant, we made it look like a really good church.
Yeah, we did.
Because the back mural was of candles and skulls and everything, and then I just had you stood. You were wearing white shirt, black tie, really far away from the mural, and we had it black and white. Not black and white. What did I say black and white for? What did I say? Why did I get black and white and out of focus? Confused. But
this film.
I'm tired. Yeah. But it was we had it out of focus. And you were stood right in front of the skull, so it looked like an altar going down. And then September came and walked over, and then we added echo on her voice to go, "Are you ready?"
Yeah.
And it just really sold it.
It was so good. Damn, I need to rewatch that actually.
Yeah. But I've got the 20-minute version and the 5-minute version on my Vimeo.
Oh, you really?
Yeah, I had to put both, because I had to put them. One of them, I had to put the 5 minute up.
You might have to link them to me actually.
Yeah, it's just Connor Chadwick Films on Vimeo. There you go. That's for the audience and you.
There you go. Fantastic.
Yeah. So is there anything else you want to add about time travel or anything?
I'm just looking forward to people listening to this one, because I really enjoyed the thriller drama in this. There's definitely a couple of twists and turns I don't think people are going to see coming, and I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but I mean, I personally loved the ending. I thought it was cracking, but I can't say anything more than that, just in case I spoil anything, or if Connor gives me any more stern looks. So I'll leave it there. But it was fantastic to do, and I always appreciate being offered those kind of roles, so it was great to reprise that role, and hopefully everyone will enjoy seeing Mr. Simpson back.
Thank you very much, Joel.
It's been a pleasure, Connor. Thank you.
My breath is like... We've moved locations.
I made us run, didn't we?
Yes.
All the way from an apartment to the train.
Oh, goodness gracious, I'm so tired.
So we're now on the train now.
Yep.
Bit louder than I'd like it to be, but nonetheless.
Indeed.
That was the segment on Time Travel EarthCorp II. How do you feel about EarthCorp II?
Well, I was a very big part of the first volume. I helped with the story. I was also one of the executive producers of EarthCorp. So I got to... I'm sort of an outsider for volume 2, and it's very exciting considering what we're doing with the characters, and where obviously its placement in the universe of Time Traveler, or the multiverse, the worlds of Time Traveler. So, as I said, it's been very exciting to listen to it and see how it progresses, how it links in to the overall continuation.
Very well put. Very well put. myself and Joel more or less talk about how EarthCorp kind of works when you relate it to the Loki Disney Plus series with variants. Because Jason Newman, your character, is a variant of David Newman. If you want to call it a variant, I'll just call them alternate version, but a variant just kind of works as well. They've done it quite well with naming that. But yeah, so I'm actually really looking forward to EarthCorp 2 because again, that's like we were saying earlier, that's part of the continuation. So it's all new. All the characters they're doing, doesn't link into any previously shot media or anything like that. It's all new.
The only thing that's sort of continued, the only major thing is, of course, Noah Crimson, Pete. Yeah,
Pete's come back to the role after a little while.
Yeah.
He's been appearing in 1 or 2 episodes per volume. Well, not per volume. He appeared in Time Travel in 2017. But I think that's his first proper episode as Noah Crimson in a really long time. And now he's had this entire volume to do the continuation.
Yeah.
So it's been really good to see that. Is there anything you wanted to say in conclusion at all? Because obviously we have done a lot of chatting.
Yeah.
We are currently on a train together.
A little conclusion I will say is I want to thank everyone for their overwhelming support and positive feedback we got on the first volume of Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, yeah.
It's really helped us with the drive to carry on with with volume 2 and we're crafting more ideas as we speak, and nothing really say or confirm just yet.
No.
But it's been really good. It's been a lot of fun, despite the narration, of course. But it's
narration's very good according to myself and everyone.
It is very good, but it's a pain to record.
Yes. But sometimes we all need to make sacrifices.
But we're doing something a little different with narration for Volume 2. You'll see that when
it's more full cast, isn't it?
It's more full cast when it comes to Volume 2, which I do like. I think my favourite episode from Volume 1 is the Scandal by Russia.
Because you don't say much as narration.
Yeah, but because I feel like it's a lot more condensed.
I do think the characterisation of Irene Adler and Sherlock Holmes was really, really good.
Yeah.
Oh, we're at London Bridge, everyone.
London Bridge is flooding down.
And we can get other national... We can get the Jubilee and Northern Line.
Anyone interested in the train lines? Here you go.
Should we get some riverboat services?
Maybe.
Anyway, should we wrap it up a bit?
Yeah. Anything you want to say, sir?
I second what you said. Thank you so much for the support from you all for Sherlock Holmes. So also all other things. Like, I was very nervous about the Remembrance audiobooks because it's the first audiobooks we've done, but they've been received really well as well. A lot of people. Yeah. I think it's a case of with the audiobooks you can sort of switch them on and just listen in the background. Yeah. With full cast, sometimes you do have to sort of set your mind in a little bit more because there's so many voices. When it's one constant narrator voice, I think it works that way.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for listening, and I'll catch you later on the next episode of the podcast.
Yes, farewell.
Farewell all.